Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Well, May is Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and fortunately in America, everybody gets a month. Once Black Americans got a month, everybody had to have a month, whether they had contributed anything to the country or not. So, this is the month for Asian and Pacific Islanders to celebrate their month in America. Now, just to be clear, I said whether they had contributed anything to America or not. They may not have contributed what we contributed, but rest assured, a pound of flesh was extracted from them and their homeland at some point in time. So America gets whatever share she thinks she deserves from everybody. So I'm going to subtitle this video, The Tale of Colonization. This Chinese lady has some things that she wants to say about the colonization of China. And I want us, because I'm going to be listening to see if anything that this woman is saying sounds familiar relative to Africa. Is this also what happened to Africa? Take a listen.
The first addicts were Europeans. Before China ever touched opium, Britain was addicted to silk, to porcelain, to sovereignty it didn't own. The opium wars weren't about drugs. They were about forcing China to kneel, because Europe couldn't compete with our cosmology. So they flooded our ports, humiliated our scholars, and carved our cities like rotting fruit. You call that trade? We call that war. Missionaries were the original spies. Christian missionaries came with crosses and left with maps. Every church was a blueprint. Every translation was surveillance. What they couldn't convert, they cataloged. What they couldn't understand, they destroyed. Your God came with bayonets. White photography is theft. Those old Orientalist photos of Chinese peasants with bound feet, that's not documentation. That's pornography. Europe turned Chinese suffering into visual currency. They didn't help. They published. They didn't mourn. They archived us. China didn't copy the West. The West enforced amnesia. They say China is catching up. Catching up to what? We had printing while they were still illiterate. We had medicine while they were bleeding people with leeches. Modernization wasn't progress. It was forced forgetting. Solidarity is not optional. If you are Chinese and still think black people are the problem, you've swallowed empire whole. Africa didn't flood your ports. Britain did. Black struggle weakens the empire that humiliated you. Stand with them or stay colonized. Happy AAPI Heritage Month. Cope.
It wasn't clear to me whether this woman shaved her head for political reasons or for a medical condition, but it gives her a very dramatic effect. It takes away all of the glamour of hair to make you have to listen to what she says. Now, a couple of things that stood out to me when she says the first addicts were Europeans. So they bring their vices with them. And then she said they came looking for silk. They're always coming looking for something because the riches are not in Europe. The inherent riches, the mineral riches, the natural resource riches are not in Europe. I did a study of that not so very long ago. They don't have the natural resources that Africa and some parts of Asia have. So they come exploiting. Then she said about the maps. Now we know that the Hebrew Israelites say the maps change. They come in and they change the maps to suit their narrative. Then they also use the missionaries. They come with the Bible. If they can't get you with the Bible, they'll get you with the sword, the army, in other words. So this sort of stunned me that she would say this because it appears that China is on a different trajectory. They're not trying to be parallel to Western civilization. I think they're trying to carve out their own civilization. China has had an empire before. They've had an empire before. But just like Africa, or just like we've been told about Africa, when the Europeans came, just like they say in America, when the Europeans come, other people are willing to trade with them, to partner with them, to fellowship with them, but they don't want that. They come looking for what you've got. They come to get your stuff, and they get it by any means necessary. So I believe this is new information to the Chinese people because they have swallowed the European empire method hook, line, and sinker. Many of them have. But I do notice a pulling back of the Chinese people because look who they're pushing forward now. Indians. They're pushing Indians forward now. We get a lot of anti blackness from Indians. And let us remember, India was colonized by Britain too. So no matter what the Europeans do to other races of people, they still have the ability to mesmerize those people and make those people somehow want to imitate them and fall in love with them and not hold them accountable for anything that they do. That is just remarkable to me. And black people become their enemy, even when we don't live around these people, when we don't know these people. Immigrants who were colonized and sometimes brutalized by Europeans will call into a black person's podcast and say stuff like, why don't black Americans fix their communities? Why are black Americans lazy? Why do immigrants do better than black Americans? And it's like, well, what are you even doing here? And what are you doing for your country? You ought to be at least as concerned about your own country as you are about America. And then the black person has to let the hammer down on them, play the double dozen, telling them about things that are going on in their homeland that they don't think you know about, things that they're embarrassed of. And then they start whining. But they are so disrespectful. And it's amazing. It's amazing that they will blame what America does to their country till they get over here. And then they come over here and they turn into our enemies. So America really, they really have these people hoodwinked. That's all I can say. America is the problem in their homeland. It did all of these things to them. It took all of their resources. But once they make it safely to the United States, the people who did those things are no longer the enemy. Now all of a sudden black people are their enemy. Black people did this and black people did that, and they need a crime bill to protect them from black people. All the while white people are doing all kinds of horrible things to them and making fun of them. But in their minds, it's black people that's the problem. And it's such a cowardly lie. We pretty much stay in our own communities and bother each other, just like they stay in their own communities and bother each other. But they buy the propaganda. If the white supremacy propaganda machine is ever broken and can't be repaired, the world is going to look at itself and other people in a whole new different light. In the meantime, the smartest thing that black Americans have done is to declare an identity, whether it's FBA or ADOS, and delineate from these other groups of people who say, you're a rotten group of people. Well, we're saying, okay, you think we're rotten, we think you're pretty rotten too. So you stay in your space, we'll stay in our space, and we'll leave each other alone. And that ought to make for a better understanding between us. I think that's very smart for black Americans to do that. And if people say that's being divisive, we can say, well, we think you're pretty divisive yourself. A scam has been played on the whole world. At least that's the way it seems to me. It seems like the whole world has been hoodwinked, and one group of people has centered themselves in everybody's life. And at some point, the world has to wake up. The world really has to wake up. But anyway, this Chinese woman has her own perspective on things. I agree with some of the things she said. What say you? Thank you for listening. Let me know what you think about the video and have a good day.